GM. GM. So, in the last unfair advantage, I talked about when to use Strive and when to use Swift Rush. So today, I want to talk about another concept here, which is when do you use this piece? This piece. When do you use Bulwark? Okay, and when do you use Bramble? I think this is also another very important idea that we have to talk about, because both of these pieces, as you can see, the matrix effect, this is your 8 slot. And so if you're using them as your 8 slot, you have to make a consideration whether you want to put Bulwark on the unit or you think that Bramble is going to be more important. Okay, so I want to talk about this, so let's get into it, right? First things first, we have to break it down. What do they do? Number one, if we look at Bramble, Bramble gives you 10% defense, and it gives you a 25% chance to counter-attack with a basic attack. We all know what counter-attack set is. A lot of other turn-based games also have this set. Okay? Bulwark, also the same thing. Every turn-based game that I've played at the moment has such a set, which is immunity set. Okay? But this one gives you 10% extra HP, and at the start of each wave of battle grants immunity for 1 turn. Okay? So clearly you can already see that one of them gives you defense, one of them gives you Bulwark. And so when you look at that, you can tell that if you're playing a defense scaling unit, sometimes a defense is probably better for you. And if you're playing a HP scaling unit, HP is probably better for you, because that's how you're going to increase your HP. Besides the obvious stuff, which is your 12 pieces, right? Like for example, let's look at a 12 piece here. Swift Rush gives you 12% speed. Onslaught right here gives you 45% attack. Wellspring gives you 45% HP. But we don't use these pieces because they are more PvE-esque pieces. We use more defensive pieces, especially like Bloodbath, because this will give you, damage reduction, which is better than you having more HP, which that means you can mitigate some damage, right? And so now that we understand that, when do you use Bramble? When do you use Bulwark? This is quite important to ask yourself, alright? First things first, when you put Bramble on a unit, you are trying to achieve one main thing, which is to abuse its S1. Okay? If you can abuse the S1, and you know that the S1 does something significantly important to your unit, that's when you put Bramble on your unit. For example, we all know one key unit that has Bramble on her, right? And that would be Tiamat. And why do we always run Tiamat on Bramble here? You see, even I'm on Bramble, alright? This is like the meta build. Why is it on Bramble? Here's the real question here. Because of a few things. Number one, look at the S1. Okay? S1 does 2 hits of 10% of her max HP to a single enemy, consuming 8% of her current HP to deal rail damage equal to 110 of the consumed amount. Very nice skill. Why is that? It's because when you counter attack, you are also increasing your bloodshed stacks. And if your opponent hits an unlucky counter from your Tiamat, that can take you from 7 sheds of blood stack to 8 sheds of blood stack. And if you get the 8 stacks, you know what happens, right? Dragon Mummy Tiamat comes into play, fucking takes another new turn, wrecks your world, and then you cry. Alright? And that's why we run Tiamat on Bramble, because she abuses Bramble pretty damn well. Okay? When do you use Bulwark though? In my honest opinion, when you're using Bulwark, you're trying to achieve a few things. Number one, you want that unit to press S3. If that unit does not press S3, it is pretty much a dead unit. That's number one. Okay? That is the number one reason why I put Bulwark on a unit. Number two, if I can, abuse the fact that I can spread Bulwark to my entire team and pseudo, give my team a Bulwark effect, immunity effect, that's also when I will use Bulwark. Okay, so I'll give you 2 examples here. I think you guys can understand where I'm going with this. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the first reason, which is you must press S3 in order for that unit to do its thing. Okay, first things first, let's look at this. I put my Ting, like everyone knows, on immunity. We've talked about Ting. I made a video about it. If you guys haven't seen it, make sure you guys go check that video out. But I put him on immunity. Why is that? It's because I 100% want him to press this S3 because it puts speed down, it puts torpor, and it gives your team Sanctulin. If your Ting does not do any of this, alright, so say for example you bring him on a Bramble set, for example. Okay, sure, it is very, very nice to use this skill to extend all your animal skill cooldowns. Very nice. But if my opponent, for example, drops a Holden into me, okay, press S2, resets all his skills, don't give him a turn. What good is the Ting? He is just a very inferior DPS unit at that point, a defense scaling damage dealer, right? Because all you really have is this. He is also not going to take his turn. He's not going to get the Torpor up. He's not going to get the Sanctulin up. Your team is going to be relatively squishy. You're not going to get the taunt here and all that kind of good stuff. And you're in for a bad time. Another reason, if let's say you play him on Bramble and your opponent goes in with a Nahor without a stripper, guess what? He's getting frozen. His turn is getting lapped. Nahors are usually built on Codex. Nahor's going to go again. It's going to freeze you again. And he gets to style on your entire team. By then, you're kind of screwed, right? Because the only other way you can fight against, like, let's say a Nahor, for example, who is going to put defense down, freeze you, res down, is with Sanctulin. Because that Sanctulin is going to block damage and make sure that your team can get the turns to actually do something. Because what good is the unit if it's dead? Alright, that's the first reason. So you can see I have the Ting on immunity, right here. You can see I have Raymary on immunity as well. Because if people go into a match and they see, okay, I can freeze her, so she can't take her turn. I can use Holden to S to push her back, and then she's not going to take her turn, and then Raymary's just going to sit there and just not gain stacks because all her skills are on cooldown. Cool. But because of this, now Mios can push me back. I'm going to take my turn in a relatively good fashion. If you want to strip this and try to CC her, you must have a strip. If not, Raymary is always going to get a turn, right? I do the same thing for my Mio. You can see that my Mio is not very fast. And that's because my account is just not fast, okay? I can't get speed. I've been farming Doki this forever. I cannot get her fast. But you can see that I have her on immunity. Now, why is that? It's because when they see a Mio go in, and if, let's say, they cut and they, get to do their thing. Very quick, very simply, usually what happens is your opponent's going to pick a Lily plus a Holden. They see the Mio don't outspeed the Lily. What are they going to do? They're going to push the Holden's going to S2 the Mio, reset all her cooldowns. Fucking your Mio is now a dead pig. Right? So, I want to mitigate that as much as possible because I understand my account is slow. I know that I need her to press S3 or S2 at the point in time in the game. And so I have her on immunity. Now they can't do that combo anymore, can they? The Holden is forced to either press S2 onto another unit or just press S3 to strip it all off, put attack down, put rest down. Okay? And then my Mio is still going to do her thing. Right? Same thing with Fushu. I think Fushu is the easiest one to see this idea play out. Because if she can press S3, your team will take negative damage. Because of the shielding, because of the healing, and because of the speed up. Okay? That's why a lot of people run her on immunity. Because she must press S3. Why not run her on Bramble? There is that argument to run her on Bramble, right? Because of this skill. This skill is going to push 2 allies by turn meter by 8%, and if you have this at 5-on-5, 10%. This could probably just wreck someone as well. If you randomly hit a Fushu before she presses S3, she hits Bramble, she pushes your team forward, and if you're playing this in a fast cleave team, you can push the two units forward, 2 random units forward, and suddenly they take the turn, they ruin your day. That's an argument for that. But her pressing S3 is way more valuable than her, having the chance to press S1 or proc S1 off a Bramble. Okay? So you can see the first idea play out over here. The second idea is very, very simple. Okay? And that falls in line with Veronica. Veronica, we all know that having immunity on her gives you the option at the start of the game to do a few things. Number one, you can choose. I know that my Veronica is always going to take a turn. Do I want my team to get immunity? Because I don't think she's going to be the only unit that spreads buffs. In the future, there's going to be more units. So this is a good framework to understand right now with, the very first unit that can do it. So you have that idea of, okay, maybe my entire team needs immunity so that my entire team can take a turn. Let's press S3 here. That's an argument for that. Or number two, because she has immunity, she's going already. She can easily just put up a shield instead of spreading the buffs. And say, alright, I think this is more important, pressing the S2 over the S3. I will do that. Okay? The other one is obviously Freya, which falls in line here. Because Freya has the ability to push units with Dream Guide. Right? It's an exclusive passive. So when you enter the game, you already have Bulwark. Your team is already going to get pushed by Freya if you're a Freya enjoyer. Okay? And you can see that's why she has immunity on herself as well, so that she can cheat the speed. This is important. Cheating the speed. Okay? So that is why I have her on immunity. I have her on immunity, and the units that I really want to press S3, I have them on immunity. I'll give you another example here. Just look at my Yelly. Look at my Yelly. She is not built normal, is she? She's not built normal, is she? She is built on immunity, swift raid, momentum. Why is that? It's because when I bring a Yelly, and you can see that she's already, 250 speed. This is considered relatively fast in a bruiser comp. Let's be real here, okay? I want her to press S3. If she doesn't press S3, then she's pretty much a dead unit, right? And so, again, the same idea. If they do the Lily Holden combo on me, they can't do it. They're not resetting my skills. They are gonna put an attack down on me, right? But Yelly has a thing in her S3 that cleanses all debuffs, and so she is hardly affected by it. The HP from Bulwark here actually comes in clutch, because now my Yelly is a little bit tankier than usual. Because of the 10% extra HP, it's a little bit, but every little bit counts in RTA. Do we agree? And so, because of this, now my Yelly gets to press S3. I get to put defense down on Holden. I get to put defense on on the entire team. I get the follow-up attack, and because she is on immunity, right? If the Holden did not press S3 here, and I get to move before them, Holden is gonna counter attack, does not put defense down on me, which means she is not getting one shot, right? Because that immunity sticks around until her turn actually finishes after all her follow-up attacks, yada yada yada. And that's how I use my Yelly. And people don't think about this far enough, and that's why I'm talking about it. Is there a chance for you to use, Bramble on her? Absolutely. Having the chance to steal a buff is also quite good, because Ciara does that a lot. And so you can see that my Ciara is built on Bramble. Okay? She's built on Bramble. Why is that? It's because now it makes more sense for me to put her on Bramble, because all of her skills revolves around this little thing here. Where is it? It's this one. The Soul Flames. And her Soul Flames, she can only get it through buffs. And if she cannot get it through buffs, and you have no way of buffing your unit, what's the best way? Steal someone else's homework. Steal someone else's homework, which is using this skill to steal a buff and get yourself the 3 fucking orbs up and loaded, so that you can just only have one button, which is just S3. And that is the power of Ciara, right? And that's why I'm using her on Bramble. Okay, she can be built relatively tanky because of her new the new buffs that she got on her, where this now actually reduces a good amount of damage on her. And I'm also running her on Amber because she keeps her flame stacks even through the ice state. Even through the ice state, she keeps her flame stacks. Okay, so you can see all these ideas that I'm sharing with you guys play out in this fashion. All right. So I think that's about it. That's really all I really want to talk about here. when to use Bramble, when to use Bulwark. To recap, you want to use Bramble when you're trying to abuse a mechanic on the unit through their S1. So an example will be like Tiamat I already gave you. The other one was Ciara, right? Doing that can literally win you the game or lose you the game. All up to chance through Bramble. However, if you are playing the Bulwark route, you know that you want to be able to press S3 on that unit, or at least make your opponent's life hard. Because now they have to think about, alright, do I need to press this button before this to this to this to this sequence, instead of just going, haha, no immunity. Okay? That is the important thing that you have to think about. Bulwark, do I want my unit to press S3? That's the most important thing. Then you have to consider the unit's kit. Does she spread buffs? Does she abuse a buff mechanic? All that kind of stuff. Okay? That is the idea. Hopefully you found this unfair advantage useful, because a lot of people don't know when to use Bramble or Bulwark. They will go, alright, this unit, how do I build it? Do I put it on Bramble? Do I put it on Bulwark? Do I put it on Strive? All that kind of stuff. Okay? So we've talked about Swift Rush Strive. Now we've talked about Bramble Bulwark. Hopefully you found value in this unfair advantage. I'm just making it a nice short one. Unfair advantage is not supposed to be long as fuck. Masterclasses are. Okay? Hopefully this is valuable to you. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you tomorrow.